You're going to hear four people sharing their personal stories and practical tips on how they improve their English speaking skills and fluency. Each of them has faced different obstacles and found unique ways to overcome them. So let's get started, and hopefully you'll pick up some useful advice along the way.
So, back in the day, I had this habit of translating every single word into Vietnamese. Like, when I thought of the word apple, I'd think trai tao instead of just picturing the fruit. This slowed me down and made my speech choppy. It really hit me when I was preparing for the IELTS test. In the listening and reading sections, they often use synonyms. If I understood the English meaning directly, I could spot these easily. But translating everything made me miss those connections. There was this one time during a listening test where the question used the word assist. My brain got fixated on the Vietnamese translation of assist, and when the audio used the word help instead, I couldn't process it quickly enough and missed the answer. To fix this, I switched to using an English dictionary. It helped me connect words directly with their meanings. I also started thinking in English more. Like, I'd look at my coffee and think, I'm drinking coffee, rather than translating it. Using flashcards with pictures instead of translations was another game changer. For example, I had a card with a picture of an apple and the word apple below it. It forced my brain to process English naturally. Another technique that helped was immersing myself in English media. I watched TV shows and movies in English without subtitles. And over time, this whole immersion approach really sped up my thinking process and cut down on those awkward pauses.
My biggest issue was overthinking and aiming for perfection. I always feared making mistakes, which made me anxious and hesitant to speak. Over time, I realized that conveying your message is more important than being perfect. Life isn't an IELTS test, right? Mistakes are fine, as long as people understand you. To get over this, I started chatting with friends and colleagues in English without worrying about errors. I also joined language exchange meetups. These sessions were a safe space to make mistakes and learn from them. During one discussion, I said movement instead of move. Instead of feeling embarrassed, I took it as a learning moment. And here's another handy trick. If you don't know a word, try explaining it in simpler terms. Like a couple of weeks ago, during a meeting with my clients, I wanted to say that I would work with the manager and decide which feature to prioritize. But I couldn't remember the word prioritize. Instead of freezing up, I just said, okay, we'll see which feature is more important and do that first. This way, I still got my point across without getting stuck. So again, remember, the key is to communicate your ideas clearly, not perfectly. Accepting imperfections helped me become more fluent and less anxious about speaking.
My journey was all about shadowing. I watched tons of YouTube videos related to my field and read scripts out loud, copying the native speaker's pronunciation, intonation, and stress. I recorded myself and compared it to the original. It was eye-opening. I realized I had so many pronunciation errors. I also imagined meeting a customer and used the phrases and sentence structures I learned from the videos. I recommend breaking down longer sentences into chunks and practicing each chunk before putting them together. Instead of trying to say, the property is located in a prime area with excellent amenities, all at once, I practiced the property is located first, then added in a prime area, and so on. This made complex sentences easier to manage and improved my overall fluency. To improve pronunciation, I use apps like Forvo and websites like Youglish. They are super useful for hearing native pronunciations. Make sure you try them out. What I learned from this is that we should learn the English phonemes correctly from the start. Phonemes are the smallest units of sound, and getting them right is crucial. I learned the International Phonetic Alphabet to understand and produce these sounds accurately. It's like, make sure the small things are correct before dreaming of doing big things.
My problem was not practicing enough and only learning vocabulary for recognition, not production. I read a lot of sample answers but never produced my own. This led to a passive understanding of English without the ability to actively use it. To fix this, I started speaking out loud more often, even when I was alone. I'd describe my day, narrate my actions, and just talk to myself in English. Like, I'm making breakfast. I need to fry some eggs and toast some bread. This constant narration got me used to thinking and speaking in English. I recorded myself talking about different topics every single day, then listened to the recordings to identify areas for improvement, practicing regularly and pushing myself to produce language, not just recognize it, made a big difference in my speaking skills. I also used language learning apps that encourage speaking and pronunciation practice. Apps like Babbel and Duolingo were great for this. Regular practice turned passive vocabulary into active usage and boosted my confidence.
Thanks so much for listening and watching. Now, we want to hear from you. Share your experiences in the comments below. What's working for you? What challenges are you facing? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more expert tips and strategies that help you achieve your dream English score. Keep practicing, keep shining, and see you in the next video.